Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM. John, here, you there. Thanks for dropping by. My hair's a mess, and I apologize for that off the top. You try to put like a jersey on, and then you try to like fix your hair, and then you're wearing a headset and all the things. Yeah, chaos is here. No real shock, and I think that honestly, the personification of chaos could be no place different than Central Florida at the Citrus Bowl last night, where Manchester City out. OWT out of the Club World Cup. Al Hilal in a 4-3 craziness. I don't know. I don't know if they have like moonshine or something, or maybe it was like Jolt Cola. I think that's what it was on. The match was on Jolt Cola for all intents and purposes. And we'll go through it. We'll hear from Pep Guardiola from last night. We'll get you ready for tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where Borussia Dortmund is going to be taking on oh, boy. I mean, it's going to be Monterrey and Borussia Dortmund, and it's going to be loud. So if you have your tickets, go early, 9 o'clock kick, and we will have all of the we'll have post, we'll have stuff. That's the official term. We're going to hear from Karim Adeyemi coming up in just a little bit here in hour number 1 as he discusses what life is like under Niko Kovac and how Dortmund has turned things around, and they are where they are here in the tournament, going up against Monterrey. And you have coming up on the weekend, remember, you've got PSG and Bayern Munich. So that doesn't suck either. So that's at noon on Saturday, of course. So July 5th. So you've had all of your July 4thness. Then you have to recover just in time to be at Mercedes-Benz for a noon kick on Saturday afternoon. I'm wishing all of you the best in your quick recovery times, or maybe just turn it into one long, incredible weekend of celebrations for things. So hour number 1, we'll go over Club World Cup. We'll go over the chaos from last night. We'll get you ready for tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. All the things that are attached there. Major League Soccer had some news come out this morning, and it is out of Toronto. And we will let you know what's going on there. That probably gives it a little bit more of a breaking news kind of a thing, considering that it broke down. Technically, it broke about 35 minutes ago. And it might only be stage 1 of a longer process. We'll go through the report. We'll go through the officialness of what's going on. But it's big news out of Toronto, and we'll see what happens out of that. So hour number 1, once again, Club World Cup and Major League Soccer, plus other news of the morning and things like that. And apparently Bohemians just wants to take my money with the new release of the Oasis jersey that they have this morning. So there's that. Hour number 2, some really cool stuff. We're going to finish up hour number 2 with our friend John Arnold. We're going to get completely and totally CONCACAFEINATED. And every time I type that, I feel like it should be in caps, considering everything that's been going on. So John Arnold's going to join us at 10:30 Eastern. We're going to go through everything Gold Cup, all the greatest hits to get you right to the semifinals. And we'll talk about Canada. We'll talk about Guatemala. We'll talk about the U.S. We'll talk about the early stages, some of the teams that might be worth looking at and paying attention to, some of the cool storylines leading into the semifinals, Saudi Arabia perhaps, all that stuff, all the things with John at 10:30. 10 o'clock, we're going to find out what's going on with the Genuine Cup. And for those that may not know about the Genuine Cup, it is a tournament that is going to be going on later this month. Technically, I can say that when it comes to I can say that because since we are now officially in July, I can say this. Genuine Cup 25 is happening July 29 to August 1 at Rice University down in Houston. It's an international soccer tournament that brings together inclusive teams made up of athletes with intellectual and developmental disabilities. 40 teams, 23 countries, and Atlanta United's unified team is going to be a part of this. Atlanta United, Messi and friends, Inter Miami's unified team is going to be there. Barcelona, Manchester United, Boca Juniors, all the things. So we're going to find out, A, about this tournament, and then B, what it was like to assemble all of these teams together, what that was like. Because if you're dealing with 40 teams in 23 countries, there's got to be a lot of logistics that's attached. So we're going to have a bit of an education from our friends at the Genuine Cup 2025. That's going to be at 10 o'clock. John Arnold at 10:30. And we'll get you into all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all those things. So that'll be an hour number. Hour number 2 is Genuine Cup and John Arnold. Hour number 1, we get you ready for your day, go through all the news, go through Club World Cup, get you ready for tonight, talk about what happened last night. So that's where we are this morning. All right. Morning, David. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Michael. And that's where we are. So that's what we're getting into. And so once again, thoughts on the Twitch pitch, lay it all out there. It's going to be a busy show. Okay. So I guess official, this might be opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. So I might end up doing 2 streams here. Let's go ahead and hit this. So it's official out of Toronto. One is official out of Toronto. There are reports that both are happening out of Toronto. So out of Toronto this morning, Toronto has agreed to a mutual termination of a contract with Federico Bernardeschi. Agreeing to terminate the contract, they have now utilized one of the club's 2 buyouts of a guaranteed contract on Bernardeschi. Quote from GM Jason Hernandez: after internal discussions, we were aligned that this was the correct moment to part ways. We'd like to thank Fede for his contributions over the past 3 years. Wish him the best in the next chapter of his career. Keith Pelly, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment President and CEO. The designated player strategy is a critical component to Toronto FC's success in Major League Soccer, and the club will continue to prioritize TFC's short, medium, and long-term strategy in the weeks ahead. So they're going to stick to 3-3 when it comes to bringing in players. 88 regular season appearances since joining halfway through the 22 season. During the 25 season, 4-4 in 15 matches, twice named an MLS Team of the Match Day, 24, selected by Wilfred Nancy to participate in the All-Star Game. 26-22 in 99 combined appearances across all comps, MLS Can Champ and Leagues Cup for TFC. So Toronto FC, Federico Bernardeschi mutually agreed to terminate the contract. They've used one of the 2 buyouts for a guaranteed deal. If you go to Tom Bogert this morning, Tom Bogert is saying that both Bernardeschi and Insigne are gone. We haven't gotten to the Insigne part yet. We haven't gotten there yet. But Tommy Scoops on his 280-character app, quoting sources, I feel like I should, do that officially, mutually contract terminations for both. So it looks like if you follow Tommy Scoops down his road, they're using both of their exceptions to send Insigne and Bernardeschi away. Quoting Bogert, Moose sees both players depart the club, opens up 2 DP spots for TFC. Quoting Bogert, it's a huge day for Toronto, now firmly able to move into a new era. Decision makers who led the push to sign Insigne and Bernardeschi had previously departed the club as well, while Robin Fraser took over as head coach this winter. All sides agreed it was time to split after a hugely disappointing era that began with so much expectation when they signed and joined in Toronto in 2022. Insigne left boyhood club Napoli on a free to join Toronto, viewed as a huge coup by the club and a marquee signing for MLS, joined just after winning the European Championship with Italy. Bernardeschi was part of the Euro squad, arrived after leaving Juve. Unfortunately, according to Bogert, Insigne's signing has gone down as one of the worst in MLS history. Toronto haven't made the playoffs in any year since the duo arrived, including a dead last finish in 23. Insigne's $15.4 million salary is more than the total outlay of 9 MLS teams this year. Insigne and Bernardeschi combined to make more than all but 7 MLS teams. 15 goals, 66 MLS matches. Bernardeschi had a bounce-back 24 campaign with 8-8. Was almost on pace for the same thing this year. He had 4-4. All in all, Bernardeschi 25-12 in 88 appearances for Toronto. For as disappointing as the on-field output has been, the negative headlines off the field have followed. 2023, remember the story in The Athletic about all the behind-the-scenes stuff. where Insigne apparently pushed for the firing of head coach Bob Bradley. Later in 23, Athletic also detailed an incident where Insigne storms out of training after an argument with interim coach Terry Dunfield, who had replaced Bradley. 24, Insigne missed more time down the stretch. Toronto were playing Messi and friends. Insigne only fit enough to make the bench, subbed in toward the end of the game, and then John Herdman appeared to take a shot at Insigne after the match. You could see he didn't have much in him. I think he managed to get Messi's shirt, though, but yeah. How'd John Herdman work out for you? Just saying. Yeah, so quick jab from Herdman. Last time I checked, John Herdman is no longer on the touchline at Toronto. So that is where you at with Major League Soccer this morning. You have, depending on where you are, you're either halfway through a process or you're completing a process. Insigne, Bernardeschi both out, according to sources and Tom Bogert. Officially, one of those has been recognized in the mutual termination of the contract with Federico Bernardeschi. No word officially on the other one. Once again, remember Atlanta United's match with Messi and friends rescheduled to October 11. So there's that piece of news as well. Set your calendars accordingly. So Toronto working down the road, they're going to stick at 3-3. So that's the big news out of Major League Soccer this morning, where you end up with that kind of a signing or a dismissal or a signing that leads to a dismissal, blowing out DPs. ADP officially, sources are saying that it's going to be both. So we'll keep an eye on everything out of Toronto this morning as you go when you're looking at Major League Soccer. So last night, technically, why not? We'll make that opening kickoff. We'll make the breaking news opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, then kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us, however you are accessing us. And what you do is you hit that QR code. You start your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then we want you to buy out the store. But what you can do when you buy out the store is that you can do it with a discount code. Soccer Down at you go Soccer Down here 15, you get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, Club World Cup. That is going on today. Still going on. Speaking of, if you don't have your tickets yet, get your tickets. Dortmund and Monterrey, 9 o'clock tonight. Be prepared. Set your day accordingly. Maybe get in a nap. If I could nap in the daylight, I might get a nap in. But right there, FIFA.com/tickets. Go to your secondary ticket agencies as you wish, and sit there and we'll look at the get-in price coming up in a bit. But Dortmund, Monterrey, 9 o'clock tonight, anticipating a big crowd and a loud crowd, especially from the Monterrey contingent. So that is the next one in the stacks for the city of Atlanta and Mercedes-Benz Stadium tonight, 9 o'clock, Dortmund and Monterrey. Now, you go from there. So let's since we're promoting what happened, so let's go to the secondary ticket market, shall we? Or just your favorite ticket brokers, and we'll see what it looks like. So matches in the United States, July 1st. Okay, so tonight Real Madrid and Juve is at Hard Rock. That's your early one. Late night Dortmund and Monterrey, and so it looks like in the 300s, the get-in is in the neighborhood of anywhere from 67 to 98. So 67 to 98 to get into the 300s. And there are some in the 300s that have been posted for $122.25. Get-in price, by the way, on the 200 level is $51.35, which I find interesting. So if you want to get in now, it looks like it's just one ticket. So get-in price of $51.35 in section 241. Oh, there's 10 tickets. Okay. So then you go from $51.35 in the 200s to $55 and $60 and things like that. So section 245, you're looking at Price is in the $61 margin. Then if you want to go downstairs, you're looking at $154, $300 in some places, according to the masters of tickets. If you're want to be right there at the 50. So get-ins looks like it's 51 in the 200. Some are being sold in the 300. I'm anticipating that tonight you might have curtains up in the edges, depending on walk-up. We'll see what happens. We'll see what it looks like, but it might be lower bowl and then curtains in the corners, and then if anybody wants to go in, I don't know what the layout is. But I'm imagining here with tickets available in the 300s that upper bowl is going to be available in some manner, way, shape, or form. So we'll see what happens there. But get-in price anywhere from 51 to $52, and that's in the 200 level. Some in the 300 are up for sale, but right now $51.35 plus fees to get you into Section 241. So it might be just the tight $43,000 setup for 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night. But well, obviously we will be there early, and we will let you know what's going on. We'll give you the lay of the land, and so wow, okay, Ricky saw 30 in the 200s. So Ricky's doing better than I am. Like I said, I'm going to the Masters of Tickets, and I'm looking there. I don't know what game times fees are, but yes, the Master of Tickets has it get in at like 52. So we'll see what happens. But I'm anticipating something akin to lower bowl, so 43,000 plus edges. So we'll see what happens there. So morning, Abby. Morning, Wild. Johan is in this morning. Team Messi or Team Ronaldo? We are, for the most part, Team Messi. We do have some Team Ronaldo folks, but we are a Team Messi lot for the most part. Wildness Leb is looking for a Monterrey win, Real Madrid and Monterrey win. So Wildness is predicting, if I could get my upper plate to work. This is what happens when you haven't had any soda yet this morning. Real Madrid and Monterrey. And Wildness, you are not alone in that Monterrey pick because of what we have seen. You know, does Dortmund have their head completely and totally screwed on straight with the coaching change to Niko Kovac? We'll hear from Karim Adeyemi coming up in just a little bit. But let's see if there's anybody else that I missed this morning. So let me go ahead and say hi to folks since we're here. So morning, David. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Michael. Let's see. So yes, welcome, Johan. Welcome, Wildness. Morning, Abby. And yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of folks, Ricky, yesterday in the pre-match pressers in the MD-1s, we were looking at a lot of folks asking questions to the Dortmund players about Sergio Ramos. So, hi. And so it was so what's it going to be like playing up against Sergio Ramos? We had a lot of that. So that was a question that was asked of Julian, of Adeyemi, of Girassi, of a lot of folks. So that was attached yesterday to the MD-1s. And so a lot of folks referenced that they had seen Sergio Ramos, didn't necessarily watch Monterrey per se until they started studying for the match, but they do know of this gentleman, Sergio Ramos. They do know of him and his dynamic. So that's where we are with Sergio Ramos. So coaching change, Niko Kovac now in charge. And yesterday, speaking of the MD-1, since we're there, caught up with Adeyemi and asked him about what it's like having a new coach. This was at the MD-1s yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say, but I think he just trying to. I said it many times. He tried to kick our ass to run every day, and at the end, everything will come automatically. I think the most important thing is just to be one team and to have one spirit, and this is what he trying to give us every day. And of course, we have other tactics, and yeah, it fits very good with us. So this is why we perform like this.
What's it like having a coach kick your ass?
What do you say?
What's it like having a coach kick your ass?
Yeah, it's for the player. Sometimes it's maybe annoying, but at the end, when you go home, you think, yeah, it's for a reason. So I just let it be. So yeah, it's difficult, but at the end, he's just trying to help us, and of course, it's only for the.
Kareem Adeyemi last night at the MD -1s. So yeah, so I had to ask the follow up when he's talking about a coach kicking your ass. I had to ask the question, what's it like having a coach kick your ass? So Kareem Adeyemi from yesterday, and he once again getting ready for tonight. 9:00 across all of your networks and such. DAZN, obviously, you can still hop in and get the free subscription for the tournament. You can watch all the matches for free. I'm still. I am still having issues. I am still having issues involving all of my watching of DAZN on the Big 55. I don't know about y'all, but I mean seriously, I look at it here. I look at it here. I'm fine. I look at it here on the phone. I'm fine. But mobile devices, I'm good. But for some reason, and like I said, I don't know what it is, but on the Big 55, I have massive DAZN issues. Maybe it's just from all of the folks that are diving in on their favorite Big 55s. But for the life of me, I watch it. I literally will watch it on laptops and phones, and I do not get any buffering issues there. Big 55 buffering issues. So I don't know. But anyway, that's tonight, 9:00. For those of you that are not going to be in attendance, once again, 9:00 tonight. Let's get into the juice boxes for today since we are discussing it. But yeah, Kareem Adeyemi, when you ask the man about getting your ass kicked by a coach, you had to follow up. But that was, and I'm glad that he played along. So Real Madrid and Juve, that's at 3:00. Real Madrid a -123, 90-minute draws a +272. Juve's a +346. Late night, Dortmund a -141. Monterrey, by the way, is almost a +400 in the juice boxes. And the 90-minute draw is a +286. So that's what you're staring at with those matchups on the board today. Once again, remember, Real Madrid and Juve is at Hard Rock. So, Hard Rock, 3:00 on a summer afternoon. No cruising allowed. 3:00 at Hard Rock on a Tuesday afternoon in July. What are the odds? Maybe second half the sky opens up. I'm just saying. If we had a 3:00 match in Atlanta on a Tuesday afternoon, what would the odds be that the skies would open up in Atlanta at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday in July? I'd say closer to 5:00, but you get to the second half, you get to maybe add it, you get to extra time, maybe. But you know what? You ain't getting a postponement of a match. You ain't getting a weather delay. You're not getting Enzo Maresca yelling at you that Chelsea was to play in Atlanta. So that's what you're looking at. 3:00 at Hard Rock, Real Madrid and Juve, Dortmund and Monterrey, 9:00 tonight. That one is at Mercedes-Benz. Okay, so yesterday, you had the early game. In and of itself, that had its own bits of surprise. Fluminense basically took Inter and showed them the door at a +475. Fluminense gets the win 2-0 over Inter. Inter was a -143. At the Citrus Bowl in Orlando last night, Al Hilal advances 4-3 win over Manchester City. Manchester City goes home. So here's the rundown of the crazy. So Bernardo Silva, 9th minute, first goal gets them the lead. Gundogan gets the assist. So 9th minute, Manchester City's up 1-0. You're sitting there thinking, yeah, okay, this is about normal. Then Manchester City close to getting a second about 13 minutes later. Marcus Leonardo scores the first goal for Al Hilal, equalizing early second half to make it 1-1. So literally 1-0 at the break. Should have been more. And I know that probably ruining those opportunities that are missed is Pep Guardiola. So Marcus Leonardo scores to make it 1-1, 45th minute. Malcolm scores the second goal for Al Hilal in the 52nd minute to make it 2-1. Then, after it gets to 2-1, Pep Guardiola's had enough. He makes a triple sub. And literally within a minute of the triple sub, Erling Haaland scores to tie it at 2. At the end of 90 minutes, once again, you had more missed chances by Manchester City. Pep Guardiola storms out onto the field, and he's looking for the center ref. The man in the middle, he wants to have a discussion because he thought a foul should have been called before the end of regulation, and it would have been a set-piece opportunity for Manchester City. Whistle blows. We're done at 90 minutes. We're tied at 2. Kalidou Koulibaly scores the third goal for Al Hilal in extra time, giving them the lead. Ruben Neves gets the assist, and this was like 4 minutes in. So the 94th minute, you end up Kalidou Koulibaly scores to make it 3-2. Phil Foden comes in as a sub, gets the third goal on a fantastic ball from Ryan Cherky. Ryan Cherky, by the way, I'm locking him in on my fantasy teams and maybe him and Marmouche. Ryan Cherky is going to be a problem, quoting Derek Wittenberg in the 30 for 30 Survive and Advance. He is a problem. I'm paraphrasing, but still, nevertheless. So Cherky with an absolute dime to the back post. Phil Foden, great command, settles it down, puts it in with the left, and we're tied at 3. Then Marcus Leonardo scores the fourth for Al Hilal. I want to say like in the 112th, almost 113th. Al Hilal gets the lead 4-3, and they go on to win 4-3. So Silva in the 9th, Leonardo in the 46th, Haaland in the 55th, after Malcolm scores in the 52nd. So Al Hilal down 1-0, up 2-1. Manchester City ties it at 2. Then Koulibaly, 94th, Foden at 104, Leonardo at 112. That was how Al Hilal advanced. Al Hilal advances, people. Did not have that on the bingo card. Did not have Fluminense and Al Hilal playing in the quarters at the Citrus Bowl on July 4th. By the way, July 4th matchups, Fluminense and Al Hilal at the Citrus Bowl. Then you also end up with Palmeiras and Chelsea. That one is at the Link. So once again, unless if you're a Philly fan, Rich, please guide people appropriately. Be careful wearing black or something like that. Chelsea, obviously, they'll come in their dress blues. They'll be easy to pick out. But if you're going to the Link wearing green, as an Eagles fan, you're going there to root for Palmeiras. It's already been preordained. So you have Fluminense, Al Hilal, Palmeiras, and Chelsea. That's July 4th for you. Saturday, July 5th, PSG, Bayern Munich at Mercedes-Benz. That one once again at noon. And then we're waiting for the other quarterfinal that will be played in the Meadowlands coming up later in the day on July 5th. After the match, here's Pep Guardiola. Here's the leadoff question from Pep Guardiola as you lay it all out. Here is Pep Guardiola after the match. Once again, this is the lead question, courtesy of our friends at FIFA.
What went wrong today, and what's your feelings after that result?
Well, it was indeed the stages always are a difficult game, so we allowed them to make some transitions, but in general the game we create a lot. We were really good. It's a pity because we have been in incredible journeys here together. We have been in so good plays. The vibe was really good, and I can say not thank enough to the staff, background staff, and especially the players, how they training, how they play in every single game, giving everything. The margins are minor, so it's true that they run in transitions a little bit, but the way we create was a lot in set pieces and in actions. Bono making incredible saves. Nothing to say. We would have loved to continue because it's not easy to be here once every 4 years. So, and we were there. I had the feeling that the team still have that feeling that the team is doing well. But yeah, we go home and now time to rest, to refresh our minds, and we come back for the next season.
Sam, please.
Pep Guardiola, after the 4-3 chaos that happened last night in Central Florida. I had full disclosure. I have PSG winning the tournament. I had Manchester City making a deep run, but I had PSG winning the tournament. I know that's really exciting, sitting there and saying the reigning European champ is your pick to win. Yeah, I know. So that was how I had things laid out, but I did not have this early an exit for Manchester City. Did not. Full credit to Al Hilal for sticking with it, going with the chaos, rolling through it all, coming out with a 4-3 win, and, boom, you're good to go. So, congrats to Al Hilal for making it this deep. Next up, you get Fluminense. That one, by the way, 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon. If you're lounging, levitating, if you're just collapsed in your chair from having participated in things earlier in the day on July 4th, just sit down and watch that one. I don't think, let me see if we have early juice boxes in this one. But take the over. We do. Okay. So right now, the July 4th matchups. Fluminense is a slight underdog against Al Hilal. Al Hilal's a plus 150. Fluminense is a plus 179. 90-minute draw is a plus 242. Palmeiras, big underdog to Chelsea. Chelsea, though, is a favorite on the plus side at a plus 106. Palmeiras a plus 282. PSG favorite against Bayern Munich at a plus 121. Bayern Munich a plus 209. 90-minute draw is a plus 262. So Al Hilal goes from a plus 957 underdog to cashing out at plus 540 to getting the win in that matchup. Now, Al Hilal goes, they're a favorite playing Fluminense in Central Florida on July 4th. Just sit and watch that one. It will be chaos personified. It's going to be a fun one. Take the over. Find the over and take it. Or find an over and take it. Actually, tell you what. Let's see what the early numbers are. See if you can jump in early on an over-under. 2.5, a minus 106. 3.5, a plus 225. 3.5. So if you're thinking 2-2 with Al Hilal and Fluminense, which I would probably run to the bank at, a plus 3.5 is a plus 2.25. An easy plus 3.5 at a plus 2.25. I would go there. So that's just me. So that's me and my amateur sleuthing when it comes to looking at totals. Morning Lokeville. And Wildness agrees on our assessment of Ryan Cherky. Absolutely crazy. And Ricky, to Ricky's point, and this has been made public in news reports and such. Logistical nightmare in Miami public transportation, Uber getting in and out of Hard Rock. Hard Rock, it is, I'm trying to remember my logistics, but I mean, legitimately getting into Hard Rock, you are having to go past the F1 circuit as a part of it. Like if you enter on one side, you're having to walk in and around the F1 circuit. So basically they've kind of turned it into something akin to a big amusement park now. And there's less parking, and it's and to Ricky's point, it is a logistical nightmare trying to get into the Hard Rock, and people are kind of hacked off about trying to get into the Hard Rock to go see what's going on in the matches there in South Florida. So we always talk about tournaments like this being lessons that you can learn going forward for next year's tournaments. there's going to be some lessons learned. And I think there's going to be lessons learned in more than one place. So I think that Miami specifically might be one where you're kind of going, yeah, we've got to figure some things out, or at least in that time make that 1 month next year or this time. Well, hang on. Let me see. How many more matches do we have in South Florida? So we, actually, after this weekend, we're done with, so today is the last match in South Florida with Real Madrid and Juve. Then Mercedes-Benz has 2. Central Florida has 1 more. The Link has 1 more. Then the Meadowlands have the last 4 matches. The last 4 matches go to the Meadowlands. 4 o'clock on July 5th. Tuesday the 8th, the semifinal. Wednesday the 9th, the semifinal. And then the 13th of July, the final. So the last 4 matches go to the Meadowlands. I mean, the Meadowlands, it literally is just this big, vast space off the interstate. So getting in and getting there in some manner, way, shape, or form, hopefully they've got it figured out, or at least they might have it figured out by matches 3 and 4. But it's not as confined a space as, say, the Hard Rock is. So, so Joe Robbie, Pro Player, Hard Rock, whoever your sponsor is right now, you're crammed in trying to get there. I understand why folks would be mad trying to find their way in to Joe Robbie, Pro Player, Hard Rock than other places. But I will be interested to see how the Meadowlands handle all of the traffic that's going in and, figure out, okay, what do we learn from this? We've got 4 matches in a row to figure it out. What do we learn from the first match getting into the semifinals? And then the semifinals, matches 2 and 3. And then what are we learning from that? What do we apply to the final? So crowd control, especially as you get into the semis, and folks that are lingering and just want to come and hang out in the parking lots. And, oh boy, hotels. I'll check as we get closer to the semifinals. The last 4 matches at the Meadowlands, I want to find out just how expensive hotel rooms are in East Rutherford. Because there was one time a couple of years ago when the boss and I went up to Harrison, New Jersey to see Red Bulls and Atlanta United. And because of rain in the eastern half of the country, this time of year, who knew? Everything was backed up. Hartsfield was backed up, all that. And so we had to stay in East Rutherford, and we miles and pointsed it, so we were fine. But for a situation like this, I want to see what the pricing is for the Hampton Inns and things like that, the mid-size hotels that we always mention, and see about getting 4 and 5 people into a room when we were college kids going to see college football games. I want to see what the pricing is, the dynamic pricing that is attached to hotel rooms at East Rutherford. So that will be a fun one as well. So Abby's like, the turnpike. Yes, drive and go very early. The final date, the final is the 13th of July. The final is the 13th of July. So hang on. So Ricky's like, have you seen the FIFA Pro report? Hang on. FIFPro.org. I'm trying to see. Let's see, the Peruvian League 2. 11 tips for dealing with hot conditions in professional football. Uh-oh. Okay, so FIFA Pro. Ricky, I guess this is what you're talking about here. So FIFA Pro. 11 tips for dealing with hot conditions in professional football. I'm reading this blind. So I have not seen this. So Ricky has said, have I seen the FIFA Pro report? I'm imagining this is what we're discussing here. Report released with guidelines and mitigating strategies for hot conditions. 11 hot tips that should be considered by governing bodies, competition organizers, and more to better protect players' health. Okay. So FIFA Pro's 11 hot tips. Heat guidelines should be adopted and respected by football stakeholders, clubs, and national teams for matches and training and embedded within regulations. e.g. minimum medical requirements, laws of the games, collective bargaining agreement for national competitions, FIFA comp regs, social dialogue. Okay, well, I think that's already going, but okay. 2, heat guidelines should refer to thresholds for WBGT, especially in elite professional football. And so this is where we go back and we try and find out what in the wide world of sports, wet bulb globe temperature. Thank you. Okay, so wet bulb globe temperature. Heat guidelines should refer to thresholds for wet bulb globe temperature and ambient in case a wet bulb measurement device is unavailable to increase their understanding and global implementation across all levels of professional football. Wet bulb global temp of above 26 Celsius, so basically like 82 degrees, or ambient temperatures above 30, which would be 90, should warrant cooling breaks during that. 82 degrees? Okay. At approximately 30 minutes each half of the match. Wet bulb above 28, so 86, or ambient temperature above 36 Celsius, so that would be 102, should lead to delay or postponement of matches until conditions for players and officials and fans are safer. 5, wet bulb and or ambient temperature should be measured on site before each match and training session, exempli gratia, as example, free example, 2 hours. And consultation between key stakeholders, players, coaches, match officials, team physicians, about potential risks should occur. Okay, I would hope that they already do. National and local weather forecasts should monitor the weather conditions at least 5 days before each match. I think they do. And estimate potential hot conditions to schedule matches and training optimally and provide players with a safe environment. Next to additional cooling breaks, other mitigation strategies, e.g. heat acclimatization, cooling methods, easy availability of cool drinks all around the football field, should be planned and used for matches and training, with responsibility for their implementation resting with teams and individuals involved. 8. 1 through 7 so far. 1 through 7, we see that with meteorologists because they want their 5-day forecast to be accurate. Otherwise, they get in trouble with their local viewers. I have another thought, but I'm going to save it to the end. Stakeholders, international, continental, national, and TV broadcast companies should not schedule matches at the hottest time of day. That means avoiding midday or afternoon matches, i.e. full sunshine where wet bulb is most likely. Good luck on that. 9, an international registry, a national or an international registry of heat-related collapses or deaths should be developed to assess their prevalence, explore the underlying contributing factors, and improve existing guidelines and mitigation strategies. I would hope that already exists someplace. 10, while players' responses, physiological and cognitive, when exercising in hot conditions have been extensively studied, more research is needed to understand, 1, how thresholds, wet bulb and or ambient and guidelines should evolve. 2, how mitigation strategies, including potential modification of the laws of the game and heat acclimation. Wow, my head is, there's a lot of words here. And 3, how new technologies might enable the assessment of personal factors. 11, particular attention should be given to female and youth players with regard to individual responses when exercising in hot conditions or when it comes to avoiding TV broadcasts of their matches at midday or in the afternoon, i.e. full sunshine. FIFA Pro's 11 hot tips. To me, a lot of this stuff is already done. The hot tips. Way to go, hot tips. Okay. Well, congratulations on 4 pages of paper. Way to go. So FIFA Pro's 11 hot tips. I feel like they should. Oh boy, the Players Union. The FIFA urged to scrap early kickoffs at extremely high-risk World Cup venues, says Players Union. That's from our friend Oliver Kay from yesterday. Report by FIFA Pro, which represents more than 70,000 players worldwide, identified Kansas City and Miami and Monterrey as cities that carried extremely high risk of high-stress injury if World Cup matches are played in the afternoon. Atlanta, Dallas, and Houston were also identified in that category due to high temperatures and humidity, but FIFPro expects retractable roofs and climate-controlled technology to be used there to reduce the risk to players and spectators. Another 5 World Cup host cities cited as very high risk, Boston, Philly, and Guadalajara, or high risk, LA and New York, New Jersey. Only San Francisco and Vancouver were classed as low risk. Weather conditions have disrupted. FIFPro's made representations to FIFA about kickoff times, but union's leadership fears commercial interests, in quotation marks, driven by a pressure to satisfy a huge global TV audience, particularly in Europe and Asia, will hold sway in some cases. Then there's your big quote from a Professor Dr. Vincent Gutabarge, FIFPro's medical director, on a Zoom call. Couple cities and some matches on the ongoing Club World Cup can be labeled as having a higher risk for heat-related illness, or in the worst case, extreme high risk for heat-related illness. Question is, if we look at match scheduling and match planning ahead of the tournament, if we actually need midday kickoff times in these locations or in these high-risk areas, if we should probably move towards late kickoff times as a preference for these venues. FIFA is due to settle on its match schedule for the World Cup after the draw for the finals is made in December. Further conversations with FIFPro over the months ahead, but the union says its powers are limited. Dr. Gutabarge said one proposal being trialed is the extension of the halftime break from 15 to 20 to help players hydrate and cool down. He proposed shorter but more frequent in-game cooling breaks, suggesting that 3-minute breaks used at the Club World Cup are less beneficial. Okay. Keep an eye on that, and we'll see where FIFA and FIFPro believes and the what we're staring at here when it comes to all of it. And to Bart's point, do you end up with a midnight kick in some locations? We went over who's got a dome and who doesn't. And we went over times of day and things like that. Maybe you get Marine Layer and play at Levi's. And SoFi covered, NRG covered, Atlanta covered, Meadowlands, hit or miss. Joe Robbie Pro Player, hit or miss. But you are going to have your afternoon thunderstorms. Yes, and yes, FIFA headquarters is in South Florida. Well, and that's the thing. And yes, happy Canada Day to everybody. Ricky, extremely high risk is wild when we have a roof. I know. They might be, Ricky, and this is me trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. They might be thinking about practice schedules and things like that. And you've seen practice schedules be adjusted to earlier morning. I mean, shoot, here in the Club World Cup, we've been to early morning practices and things like that. So it's been, 9 o'clock, 9:15, those kinds of things. So those do exist. So, we'll keep an eye on that and how things are adjusted. But teams are adjusting with earlier practice times, at later practice times. They're not practicing heat of the day. They save that for the press conferences. So it's very, very, it will be an intriguing aspect of it all. But labeling some cities with domes as extreme high risk, remember where you're playing. You're playing in a dome. The only hot part will be your practice, and practice times can be navigated. But, looking at venue versus temperature is going to be something over the next month. But then remember, some of the venues that are available in the Club World Cup are not going to be around for the World Cup. Trademark FIFA from far back. So once again, we'll go over the venues for 26. Venues for 26. All right, so you're looking at all of the venues here. So you have 16 different venues. Estadio Banorte, Azteca. So Azteca, Meadowlands, Jerry World, Roof, Dallas. Arrowhead, Kansas City. NRG, Roof, Houston. Benz, Atlanta, Roof. SoFi, Roof. Lumen, Temperate. Probably get rain. Levi's in the Valley in Santa Clara. The Link, Hard Rock, Gillette, BC Place covered. Estadio Monterrey, Elevation. Estadio Akron, Guadalajara. Then BMO in Toronto. I mean, in a place like Estadio Akron, I would be more concerned about smog and temperatures than anything else. But those are your venues. That's what you're staring at with your venues. I mean, obviously for me, it would be Mexico City and Guadalajara for smog and heat. MetLife, the Meadowlands, it's hit or miss with temperatures. AT&T is covered. Arrowhead, it can get pretty, in the Midwest, it can get pretty hot. NRG covered. Atlanta covered. SoFi covered. Lumen, temperate. Levi's, depends with Santa Clara. The Link can be all over the place. Hard Rock, Joe Robbie Pro Player, you're going to get afternoon thunderstorms. Gillette, it shouldn't be too bad, but you do get rain and things. BC Place covered. Monterrey, mountains. Akron, Guadalajara, that I would go with smog there, and then BMO in Toronto. So, I mean, that's what you're staring at. So it's just, looking at what you're staring at. Yeah, and SoFi has a roof, but so it will be shaded. There's no AC unless you're talking about the native breezes that come in off of the ocean. But so covered with SoFi. And volunteers passing along times. Michael has letting everybody know. Volunteers show up at 5:45. We'll be there at 5, I think, for the 9 o'clock. Okay, gossip, rumor, and innuendo real quick. Once again, Genuine Cup joining us at 10 o'clock and John Arnold joining us at 10:30. All right, so what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Here's we'll get into all of that really quickly. Canadian Premier League at 3 on FS2. Halifax and Valor, TNT, Dortmund, and Monterrey is at 9 on TNT. 2 to NA simulcasting with Unimas, Club World Cup at 3 and 9. Same with DAZN USA. So that's what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Club World Cup, DAZN, Unimas, 2 to NA, TNT has your 9 o'clocker tonight from Mercedes-Benz, and the one Canadian Premier League matchup, Halifax and Valor. That one is 3 o'clock on FS2. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo today. We'll get you into what we're staring at here. Villa's Ollie Watkins on Manchester United's list of potential striker recruits if Rasmus Højlund leaves Old Trafford. Marcus Rashford faces returning to United for preseason training, as Villa will not be taking up the option to sign him for £40 million. It's from the Mirror. Bayern Munich have added Liverpool's Luis Diaz to their shortlist as they continue to search for a top-class left winger. Arsenal have held talks with Crystal Palace over Eberici Eze, who has a release clause of £67.5 million. Fulham plotting a summer move for Genk striker Tolo Arokadare, who is also being watched by United and AC Milan, 3-letter paper. Spurs want to sign Mohamed Kudus, confident they can strike a deal well below the £85 million release clause. West Ham would be open to offers around 60, as Kudus has gained interest from Chelsea, Newcastle, and Manchester United. Richarlison has been given approval by Spurs, expected to head to Turkey to join Galatasaray, 3-letter paper. Chelsea hope to raise about £35 million from the sale of Christopher Nkunku this summer. Palace eyeing a £27 million double swoop on Middlesbrough to sign midfielder Hayden Hackney and defender Rob Vandenberg, 3-letter paper. Manchester United struggling to offload Tiro Malacia after PSV Eindhoven rejected the chance to sign him permanently after a spell on loan. Tammy Abraham close to making a €15 million or a £12.9 million move from Roma to Besiktas. That's from the 4-letter paper. Lower division stuff. Sheffield United is losing a midfielder in Vinicius Souza. Ipswich have registered an interest in a loan deal for Mark Guiu from Chelsea after selling Liam Delap. Villa set to offload Louis Barry to Hull. Wrexham and Fulham captain Tom Kearney have cooled. He wants to sign a new deal at Fulham. Stoke has entered talks with Plymouth Argyle on a defender, and they're also in advanced discussions of their own with Norwich keeper Archie Mayer following the conclusion of his contract at Carrow Road. So that is the early returns. We'll go through and see what other gossip, rumor, and innuendo we might be coming across. And we'll also keep an eye out on the situation in Toronto because, once again, lead story this morning, Bernardeschi mutually terminating a contract with Toronto FC. So, reports from Tom Bogert have both Bernardeschi and Insigne gone Toronto FC right now only recognizing the Bernardeschi termination, and it is looking at trying to figure out if Insigne will be added to that. Bogert is saying it is. Toronto FC has not come out publicly and added Insigne to the Bernardeschi discussion. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. So let me really quickly see if anything has been said north of the border on it, and we will double check and find out quickly. It says Bernardeschi leaves, Insigne expected to follow. It's multiple reports. Okay, 10 o'clock, and this is a cool discussion that we're going to have here. It is time to find out about what's going on with the Genuine Cup. And for those that don't know about it, this is where the education comes in, and we get to catch up with Anna Torres and find out what is going on about it. Anna, thanks for dropping by the morning show.
Hi, how are you?
Doing all right. What
Love
I
it.
wanted to do was give the full education about Genuine Cup, because when word came out that a team in our footprint, specifically United, was going to be a part of this, we were like, ooh, let's find out about what's going on with Genuine Cup. So
Yes.
for those that don't know, what is the Genuine Cup? And we did mention that it's going to be at the end of this month. We can officially say that. It's the end of this month.
Which is crazy.
I know. So we'll get into that too. But for those that don't know, break down the Genuine Cup and what it is and what it means to the soccer playing community.
Yeah, so the Genuine Cup is a soccer tournament that we have in Houston for athletes with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So more popularly known as most of the people that we see have autism or Down syndrome and many more. But it'll be hosted in Houston for the second time. So last year we had 12 teams, and then this year we have 40 teams, and we're using this platform, as sports is the universal language. Soccer, obviously, or football is a huge sport, and with the World Cup coming to the US, we really thought this was a really good platform and especially time to host this event. Last year was our first year. It was very successful. This year we're having 40 teams from 23 countries, so it's a huge jump, Atlanta United being one of them. And I see some of the comments. It'll be at Rice University. All of the games will be hosted there. They are completely free to join and to come. Also, there's volunteer opportunities, but we're really just using this platform to really, shine a light on these people and make sure that people see that, they are very talented, and especially with playing soccer. That's something we saw last year. They're better than I am, that's for sure.
Right. So when did the idea come up in the first place? What was the genesis of this idea, and how did it come to pass?
Yes. So my family in Houston has an ice cream shop that we employ people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's in Uptown Park. It's called Rocambolesque. And with this, just being super involved within the community. My parents are from Barcelona and from Mexico, so huge soccer fans. And just, it's in our blood. And just with the with the World Cup coming, it was kind of an idea of like, how can we really, use sports as a universal language? So last year, the idea started in like April, like we started having the conversation about it. So we planned the tournament for 12 teams in 3 months, and it was a learning, but it was very fun. So that's kind of how the conversation started. We had met some people, all of the La Liga, the Spanish league, all 47 teams have what we call a genuine team. And so we, through like conversations and meeting people over there, they helped us, with coming up with something for Houston, and helped us, kind of execute the actual tournament and learning from them and their rules of the game and all that stuff.
I was going to ask about all of the infrastructure learning and everything like that, because you're going from 12 teams to more than triple that.
Yeah.
Logistically, how many jobs do you have currently in trying to make sure that 40 teams make their way to Houston in a month?
So I am personally the team person. So I'm the point of contact for most of the teams. I have people under me that also help me out with this, that I could not do this alone. That'd be a lot of work. And we work with like a travel agency so this tournament is completely free for all of the people that are coming, through sponsors and donations. So we pay for all of the flights, we pay for all of the activities, but we work with a travel agency that books all of these flights. And then with the actual tournament itself, with the actual soccer of everything, we have an agency that does it for us. They are called AGF, and they are the ones that run the La Liga's like tournaments for the genuine teams. They just know the rules, and they do tournaments for 47 teams, so they understand how to do 40 teams. So they help us out with actual tournament, but we get referees from Houston that volunteer with their time, so we have them come. But I'm not going to take the credit. The Spain team does. The Spanish agency does the actual logistics of the tournament.
What was the biggest lesson that you and everybody there at Genuine Cup learned last year to prepare you for this year, you think?
For me personally, I'm noticing every little mistake that happens. Not everyone else notices it. One big learning also was, maybe it sounds cheesy, is you are making a really big impact, even with the stress. Like it feels really good to know that this is something that is actually making a change. And seeing the sportsmanship that these players have is incredible. Like actual like MLS and MLB and every other sport should learn from their sportsmanship, because a team was losing 5-0, they scored 1 goal, and it was like they just won the World Cup, and they just so the energy was great. So one of the biggest learnings was that, and that they are there to have fun and to enjoy themselves and to not put so much stress on myself, but they are truly there to learn. We took them to NASA last year. We're also taking them to NASA this year. They loved NASA so much. And so we're repeating that. But the learning was just kind of for me to like relax. They are there to have fun, and that's just the lay of the land. So yeah, and to work as a team.
Canatore's Genuine Cup 2025 coming at the end of the month in Houston, Texas at Rutgers University. You go from 12 to 40. I mean, that's a big jump. Were people banging on your door sitting there going, hey, we want to be a part of this? What about the field expansion here? How did it come to that big a number?
So we knew we wanted to raise the number from 12 to 32. That was our original goal for the start of the year, for like what we wanted for this year. And at first it was kind of hard actually to get teams to talk to us. Like yes and no, it just kind of depended, just because last year was 12 teams, and they were a little like, this is your first year or this is your second year. Like, who are you? So that was kind of, and, some teams told us no, and that's just how it is. And then just because of, they couldn't make it, or they didn't have enough players or anything like that, not just saying no because they couldn't come, but, just how it was. And then we, sadly, because of how many people came or are coming to the tournament, we had to tell other teams that we are packed and we can't accept any more teams, which is really sad. But our goal for next year is to have 60 teams. That's a goal. I don't know. You never know, but that's just a goal. And so, a lot of the teams that can't come this year, we've told them next year. Also, a lot of the teams that can't come this year are because of visa problems or just like not being able to get the visa, which is obviously a hassle, but just it takes like a year to get sometimes a meeting with the consulate or with the embassy. So that's just how it works. But yeah, I mean, it's still really, it's crazy. But we moved the fields last year. We played at like the Rice Holloway field, which is like where the actual soccer team plays. This year we're doing it at all the intramural fields. So we have like 5 fields going on at once. And then the final will be at the football stadium. And so we're trying to fill it 50,000 seats up. So please come. It'll be at like 5:30 p.m. on August 1st. And it's free. So everyone should come.
All right, so looking at this year's list, Barca, PSG, Manchester United, and Manchester City. I imagine you're putting them in the same group. Atlanta United, obviously a part of it. Inter Miami, Inter Milan, Boca Juniors, Peñarol, Mexico national team, Benfica, Corinthians, Rangers, Yokohama Mariners, FC Seoul, Bangladesh national team. I mean, this is a a real diaspora of everything when it comes to the intellectual and developmental disabilities teams. I mean, this seems like it's a serious undertaking. I hope that you and everybody there have like unlimited talk and text or WhatsApp or free international minutes. I mean, this is a lot of handiwork you got to have here.
Yes. Thankfully, we're gonna have like 25 people on site, but it's gonna be, and plus we are having so many volunteers come, so we will have hands on deck, and we will have everyone, helping us out once we're actually starting the tournament. So I feel prepared. I am weirdly don't feel stressed about it, at least not right now. So I'm gonna take this calmness with where I am at, but. With also, I do want to make a comment, maybe this is directed to a completely different thing, is, for example, we have the FC Seoul team coming from South Korea, and that team was created very recently, and a lot of other teams were created to come and join the Genuine Cup, which is really exciting that we kind of started this, not initiative, but this learning of like, wait, what do you mean you don't have a team? You should start a team. And then like some of the teams last year that we invited originally were like, we don't have a team, so we can't come. And then they started a team this whole year, and then they're coming this, in a month. So it's been a really cool initiative that even if they weren't able to come, we kind of made a little impact in their little community.
No doubt. And one of the other aspects in all of this is alongside the tournament, you also have Genuine Connect that's going to be a part of this as well, where you have a lot of different advocacy voices, businesses that are attached, academia that's attached. So you have the off-the-field intellectual component in addition to the playing that's going on the field.
Yeah, so that's really important to us because we obviously love the idea that we're, making this 1 week of everyone's lives, just so much fun and exciting, and, traveling to a new place if they've never been to the US or never been to Houston or anything like that. And also a lot of people are coming without their families, so they've never even traveled without their family. So for all the players, this is like an amazing opportunity, but we want to make sure that the impact is not just during the week, but it's during the whole year and for the rest of their lives. So we really are trying to make an impact, like I said, just not just that 1 week, but every day, whether that be through like some law that is passed. And I know it's a little bit specific to the US versus, all the other nations and countries that are coming, but we are just really trying to make a voice for these people. And also one thing that we really want to focus on is employability. So for these players that are coming, or for these for the people that have intellectual developmental disabilities, a lot of the people can't work or don't like really know the initiative and how to get a job, or a lot of these companies aren't hiring people with intellectual disabilities because they don't see the benefit in it, and honestly maybe even see it like as a cost or as like more time to dedicate to these people. But some of these people are so smart, are so willing to work, it's like another way for them to have purpose and everything. And so we are inviting companies that do hire people with intellectual disabilities, and also some companies that don't hire people with intellectual disabilities, to teach them and show them the benefit and ways that they can work at the company, whether that be as an engineer or at the front desk or anything in that aspect. These people brighten everyone's days, at least they brighten mine, selfishly speaking, and they have such a awesome aspect on life and look on life and they have such a drive and willing to work because they want to do what other people do. And this was me even growing up. I couldn't wait to work because I saw my parents do it, and I saw my my older siblings do it. So that's like just kind of how we want to just teach other companies and other people about the impact. And we're also having Danny Bowman come from Love on the Spectrum as a keynote speaker, and so hopefully she bring some more people in, but everyone is welcome. There's a sign up link, which, it's on the website, but, so yeah, we invite any people to come to join us. And yeah.
GenuineCup.org is the website where folks can find out more information. What was your and your family's first interactions with, and this is probably off the field of, off soccer. What was your family's first interaction with individuals that have intellectual and developmental disability?
So I have a cousin, and my dad's godson, and also one of my family friends has had a daughter who sadly passed away with Down syndrome. And so I grew up around it. and I, have met many people. And also I think maybe not, but majority of people could say that they have met someone or know someone with an intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so that's kind of just how it all started. And my if you ever meet my dad, which hopefully you do, but he is a very like hands on deck and wants to like he loves to be very involved with absolutely everything. And so he was always very in his godson's life, and so am I, but like in stuff like this. And he just felt such a strong connection with helping them create a better future for them, and obviously for everyone else, but create a better future for them. So not the worry, but a worry for a lot of the parents is what's going to happen when I'm not here. And so this is like, just with the ice cream shop, is just like one step in, is like, how can we make sure that we are employing them and having, they have a job and can make some money on their side and not just depend on the parents, but, kind of something like that. And so that's kind of the way it started. It was just, we knew family and friends, and that's how it all started. Just a personal connection.
So what has it been like for you and your family to see the kind of impact that what you and your family are doing can have an impact on someone that is intellectually or developmentally disabled? What's it like for you to see that shine come through on someone like that when you get
you get chills on your body. It's like actually so selfishly, it's like I don't know if this is selfishly, but I did not. It was a lot of work and it was a lot of stress, to be frank, when we were preparing for it, even right now. But when we were preparing for the first tournament, I was like very stressed. I'm like, trying to figure out, I've never run a tournament before, and like, let alone it's one of this size. So there's a lot of stress. But like I said previously, is like you can see the immediate impact with so many, everyone just happy, having fun, like having a great time. And specifically during the final, at the final, we gave everyone medals because, they had a great time, participation. And there was this one player for the Mexico national team specifically that looked at his medal and started crying. And he was like, I've never received a medal before. This is my first medal I've ever received. And like, I just got chills all over my body. But just like, even seeing that immediate impact, you're like, he's going to go home, or maybe, but I assume he's going to go home and show his family and friends the medal that he got, and how, that little thing that I ordered or I got made so quickly that I was just like, it's a medal. I received medals when I was younger, and, I don't think twice about it. But there's such little things that these people have never had the access to, or never received that you just don't think about it, and it's so small. So seeing that immediate impact was very beautiful, and it was crazy how impactful it is, and how little it could have seemed to me beforehand, and how huge it is for them then. So that was just like an example. It was chills all over your body. You're so happy, and like seeing this one guy and other people like just cry because they received a medal it was very beautiful.
Well, and then what you're looking at is the idea that moment rubs off on another individual. If that person that gets that first medal goes home, shows that medal off, and it's like, hey, all of the time that we've been spending with one another in a moment like this, and you hope that rubs off on somebody else, and they jump in an idea that they might have done something previously like that. So you're hoping that 1 + 1 adds up to 2 and 4 and 8 and so on and so on.
Yeah, I agree. And also this creates noise for the, the tournament. And then they're like, where'd you go? We're like, oh, went to the Genuine Cup. And then they look it up, and then more people are involved, which that's like our goal is we want to make noise, and we want to make a lot of people like have eyes on this. And also if it isn't with us, and we want the MLB or basketball or anything like that to also create leagues like this. It doesn't just have to be soccer specific. Like I said earlier, sports is a universal language. And this is a great platform and a great initiative. We know that Special Olympics does a lot of stuff. A lot of the teams that are coming are from Special Olympics. All the MLS teams that are joining are technically Special Olympics teams. So they also do this, but maybe the NBA can actually create, something like this. The MLB can create the Astros, the Braves, all that stuff can also do something along these lines. Our goal is to spread this initiative throughout everything and everywhere all around the world. That was also why we wanted to invite so many places, so many countries, is to make noise, not just in the US, but all over Europe, in Asia, in South America, etc., in Australia even. So
So
Yeah.
is there a geography gap? Is there a place that you're really looking to knock a door down that hasn't responded yet, or has it been fairly uniform when everybody wants to come and be a part of Genuine Cup?
Africa, we couldn't. There may be teams, we just couldn't find anyone. A lot of the ways that we found teams was like one team, like Manchester or the Rangers gave us Manchester City contacts, so kind of stuff like that. So Africa was one of them. And Asia, although we have some teams from Asia, there's also a huge gap, and also culturally they're very different on the way that or not. I don't want to speak generally, but they tend to be more closed off to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and have a more I can't think of the word, like older perspective on it, versus like how I would say the US or Mexico like now views people with intellectual disabilities. So that's kind of a little bit of the gap. So those two countries, I would say, are Africa, though we don't have any teams from Africa.
Okay, so once again, for folks that want to find out everything about the tournament, about what you guys are doing, which is great stuff, and we can't wait to find out more, especially as you get to take over Rice University at the end of the month. How can folks find out more?
So yeah, if you go to the website genuinecup.org, and also on Instagram it's Genuine Cup Houston, LinkedIn Genuine Cup Houston, TikTok Genuine Cup Houston. But on the website there's a Get Involved page. So if you are in Houston, you can go and click the volunteer link and sign up for volunteering, and come on site and see it. And if you are not able to do that, you are able to just come and watch the games for an hour or two. And if you aren't able to do that, just follow us on all our social media pages. They're all over the website, and you'll be able just to keep on following and seeing what we're doing every day once the tournament starts.
Very cool. And I know that we're going to catch up with our friend Marty Jellamy, who's the head coach of Atlanta United Unified, as we get closer to the tournament and find out how things are going with them in season. Anna, great to catch up with you. Thanks
Thank
for
you so much.
all of the intel, and have a fantastic tournament. Don't be a stranger. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. That's Anna Torres, and she is part of anything and everything going on with the Genuine Cup. So genuinecup.org. See, I always get this crossed up. It's like right over here on my right shoulder, but I'm not right-handed, so I have to point with my left hand. There it is, genuinecup.org. You find out more information there. Follow them on all of the socials. And obviously, we're going to catch up, like I said, with our friend Marty Jellamy, the head coach for Atlanta United's Unified team, find out about their season to date as they get ready for this particular tournament. So very, very cool stuff there from our friend Anna Torres down at the Genuine Cup in Houston. So very, very cool stuff there. All right. Once again, coming up in about 8 minutes, we'll find out what's going on in the land of being CONCACAFEINATED. Our buddy John Arnold. Full disclosure, I subscribe to John's stuff because I think that, and this is probably something that I'll get into in this catching up with him. He has taken something that has a lot of intel and a lot of moving parts and pieces and storylines and everything, and he has made it his own. And it's very, very cool to catch up with John and find out about Texas Tech football and what his expectations are there as well when it comes to the 2025 season. But no, it's if you're looking for anything, and I mean anything involving CONCACAF, what's going on with tournaments, what's going on with the movers and the shakers and everything, then what you do is you go and you subscribe to John's stuff. And legitimately, that's what you do to stay up to date on anything and everything, whether it's St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or what's going on in the Gold Cup. And obviously, we're going to talk about Gold Cup and things like that. But once again, subscribe. That's all I can say. Subscribe to John's stuff, and you get up-to-date material, and you get up-to-date anything and everything, and what's going on with anything and everything CONCACAF. So John's coming up in about 5 minutes, and we'll break down everything that is going on in the tournament. I will ask about Guatemala and what it's like for them to be in the semis for the first time in almost 30 years. We'll talk about Canada. We'll talk about Jesse Marsh. We'll talk about what he thinks about the United States. We'll talk about Mexico, talk about Saudi Arabia and all the guest countries. And obviously in the Twitch pitch, if you guys have any thoughts and questions, let me know what's going on there in your mind as we get CONCACAFEINATED coming up in just a little bit. Sammy comes in, lets us know that Gregory scored for Curaçao's M&T on Portugal Day. That's pretty cool. I think, Jordan, this is going to be specifically at Rice. I don't think that Jordan's wanting to know if UH is going to be involved in any part of the tournament. I think this is just like Rice, and Rice. It's going to be at Rice for the entire time. Now, I don't miss the heat. 2 years you're in grad school. Man, that's just, I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. It's too entirely hot. And then the idea of the hurricanes, I just can't do it. 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 So, all right. So the intel that has happened, I think Ricky is looking for prices for the hotels in the area. So what did we have? It was holy ish. Holy ish. Are you serious with this? Looking at the Meadowlands area hotels. Hampton Inn at $750. Homewood Suites at $429. Home 2 Suites at $320. The Hampton Inn, I think I know what Hampton Inn that is, and I think that's the Hampton Inn I stayed at when I got stuck there for an extra night and had the cabbie that had everything wrong with his car. And flying around at like 75 miles an hour and made the boss nervous. $749 for the Hampton Inn at the Meadowlands for that championship day. For that championship. Holy crap. Holy crap. 700, but that doesn't surprise me, you know. That does not surprise me one bit. And $750, and I think the Hampton Inn is like the one exit down from the Meadowlands itself. And you go there, and literally they have like $25 bottles of Kendall Jackson at the bar. I mean, it's because what they do is they measure out what it's going to cost for a cup at the bar, and then they just multiply it out, and then that's what they charge for the bottle of wine. Because I think it was a $25 bottle of wine that we needed on the layover. So, yeah, I could see that $749, but home to suites at $329, and make sure, and you know that Uber is going to be, and so Abby, I don't know. I mean, that's yikes, $750. But I think I know that Hampton Inn. Morning, Dawn Star, by the way. Dawn Star is in. Yeah, we did talk about Manchester City and Al Hilal that went nuts last night. And we heard from Pep Guardiola in hour number 1. So Al Hilal and Fluminense did not have that one on the bingo card. The Hampton Inn, okay, Hampton Inn is a third of, the closest Hilton property. Okay, so I'm a little further down. I'm like an exit down or 2 exits down. So Abby is saying the Hampton Inn, 0.3 of a mile away. Yeah, so you're walking to the Meadowlands. Now I understand why that's $750. Still, I ain't paying that unless I'm miles and pointsing it, and I can do that. Closest to Hilton property, man. $750. Not happening. But yeah, Dawn Star, Manchester City and Al Hilal was absolutely crazy. And once again, today, the early game, not to be confused with the nightcap at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, is at the Hard Rock. And that is at 3 o'clock at the Hard Rock. Leave now. You're 4.5 hours from kick. Leave now. Leave wherever you're going. I don't care if you're just off campus or on the other side of the exit. Leave now. 3 o'clock kick, Real Madrid and Juve. Real Madrid obviously favored. And Dortmund favored against Monterrey at 9 o'clock tonight for the Club World Cup. And once again, winners move on, losers go home. And I think it's an extra $15.5 million if you make it out of this round. 13.5, I think. So Fluminense Al Hilal in the Citrus Bowl on Friday. Palmeiras and Chelsea at the Link is your nightcap at 9 o'clock on Friday. 9 o'clock. So prime time for Palmeiras, prime time for Al Hilal, afternoon for Fluminense, overnight for Chelsea. Okay, so That's what that's looking like on July 4th. So today, prime time for Real Madrid, prime time for Juve, prime time for Monterrey going the other way, and Dortmund is the overnight. So the bars are staying open overnight. So everybody can watch Dortmund and Monterrey. So we're keeping an eye on all of that. So that'll be cool going forward. But yeah, Manchester City and Al Hilal is crazy. We've had our batches of crazy here on this particular tournament. So no, it's been fun to process it and see what's going on with anything and everything going on in the tournament. Somebody's texting me. Okay. That's what that one's about. So somebody texted me something random, and I was like, what is this? Okay, now I finally know what's going on. All right, 10:30. It's been a while. It's been a while since we have had our lone Texas Tech football representative here on the show. And we get to find out about what's going on, guns up and all that stuff. So John Arnold, full disclosure, we're bringing John in. And by the way, fully subscribed dude right here to what's going on with John. John, welcome back. It's been too long, my friend.
Hey, John, I don't know if you can hear me. I need to fix my headphones. I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
You can hear me. So I could talk, but I won't be answering your questions.
So you want to duck back out and fix your headphones? Wow, that's so that's weird.
I don't know if this is going to work, but if this sounds okay, I'll stick with it.
Okay, well, I was going to say, want to duck back out and come back in? Question mark? How about that?
If this works, if you can hear me okay on this, I'll stick on this.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're good. Absolutely fine. You are absolutely cool. So first off, did you have the Final Four? Did you have this Final Four as your Final Four in the Gold Cup?
No, definitely not. I did think the U.S. and Mexico would make it, but I also thought Canada and Panama would be there. I mean, look, I said there was the Tuesday last week, the final group day of B and C, the Canada group and the Panama group, to put it sort of where people might actually understand. I thought that was either going to be CONCACAF or chalk, just boring. Hey, it's what we expect. And it was basically not boring necessarily. There were some good games, but it was basically what we expected, right? And then the quarterfinals were chaos. That was not what we expected. All three of the matches involved teams go to penalties. And the Mexico-Saudi Arabia match, which involves the guest team, Saudi Arabia, I'm not sure they really want to be here. Their government wants them to be here. But do the players after a long summer? Does the coach after going to the next round in Asian qualification instead of qualifying directly? Probably not. I mean, they went to some nice, like San Diego, Austin, and Northern California. There are worse places in the U.S. to visit. But yeah, but when you look at this the quarterfinals, it was look, like over and over again, I think those of us who keep track of CONCACAF and look at our region, I think we just you almost end up feeling like, hey, maybe the critics are right. And it's just the US and Mexico and even Canada maybe can't get it done. But then you look and you say, well, every team that was playing another CONCACAF team held extremely tight, played a great game. And then Honduras and Guatemala, two teams that have not been to this stage in Honduras' case since 2013, and Guatemala's case since 1996, all of a sudden are back on this kind of big stage in this Final Four. And even if you end up with a U.S.-Mexico final and people say, oh, the Gold Cup always ends up like this, I think you can still totally reasonably say, yeah, but we enjoyed the ride, So I thought it was a special quarterfinal round and not at all what I had forecast.
So Guatemala, what does this mean for the evolution of their program and where it is to be back here in the first time in almost 3 decades?
I mean, and even in 3 decades ago, you're talking about a Gold Cup that was just so wildly different. Now we talk about this tournament that this year is smaller because it's only taking place west of the Mississippi. But in 1996, it took place in Anaheim, LA, and San Diego, and it was all in January, and there were only 9 teams. So you're just talking about a different idea. Really, this has never been done before by Guatemala. The other thing that they've never done before is made the World Cup. And that's been the focus for Luis Fernando Tena, the Mexican manager, since he arrived in 2021, late in 2021. And so this is almost like a happy footnote. This is almost like I just think that the momentum that they generate from this tournament, even if they lose handily tomorrow against the US, you know, it's going to give them a lot of confidence in the toughest group of World Cup qualification. The format is that there are 3 groups of 4 teams. The top team goes. The 2 teams that are best ranked, a little confusing, in second place go to a playoff. So I think that they feel good about keeping that dream alive now, and just being in this stage means a huge amount to Guatemala. You know, it's the biggest country in Central America by some margin, and I think in the U.S. we sort of almost overlook the migrant community of Guatemalans in the U.S. because we talk about Mexican immigrants, even Honduran immigrants, Salvadoran immigrants. But as we've seen at the Gold Cup, there are huge amounts of Guatemalan people that live in this country, that travel to this country, that are excited about this team. They've been showing up at all the stadiums. I don't think the Guatemalan team themselves thought there would be anyone in Minnesota, and yet there were thousands. And so, you know, I just think that it's a really special moment for this team, but also the culmination of a process. You know, there are very few countries that make the semifinals of their continental tournament, however easy or difficult you want to say that it is, without some sort of long-term plan. And when you look at what Tena has done to empower some of the local players, but also to bring in some of the US-born recruits, make sure that team meshes, make sure there's good synchrony there, I think has been really smart. In a way, you say it's not a surprise for a manager that's won a gold medal with Mexico. That was a long time ago, and I think there were some real criticisms about how he managed at his last couple of Liga MX stops. But now he's got this Guatemala team in the semifinals, and believing that they might be able to make the World Cup for the first time ever, which would just be huge in this region. You know, if they're back in the U.S. next summer, we think the crowds are good this summer. They'll go crazy next year.
Who is the biggest disappointment in this tournament to date so far?
Well, until Sunday, it was pretty clearly Jamaica, right? Until Sunday, it was pretty clearly Jamaica, because Jamaica, with their project and their new recruits, everyone thinks that that they can do it. Steve McLaren, not exactly an experienced manager, literally coached England, right? And all of a sudden he's coaching Jamaica, and they can't get out of the group stage. And they beat Guadeloupe, so they ended with 3 points, but they didn't even look like they were going to get those. But I have to say that after Sunday, even though it's a difficult result and they played better than Jamaica did in any of their games, Canada has to be a huge disappointment. They drew with Curacao in the group stage. They kind of overcame that, survived it. But to me, when we talked about Canada after the Nations League, John, it's like, well, okay, that's cool that they had 2 good games and they beat the U.S. in the 3rd place game. But the standard for Canada has to be trophies at this point, and they didn't come close to it, right? They're not in the semifinals. They didn't get out of the quarterfinals. They didn't particularly look close. And I think that, you know, well, I mean, maybe it's not fair that they didn't look close. You know, if that game goes differently with the red card to Schaffelberg, I think that you're probably talking about Canada in the semis. You're probably talking about U.S.-Canada. But the fact that standard has to exist now for Canada to be that much higher, and then the way – I like Jesse Marsch. I like that he sort of enjoys to poke the bear, it seems. But when you poke the bear, you set yourself up to having these moments where it looks a little silly when you said before the tournament that everyone wanted to be here. And then after the tournament, when you get eliminated at the quarterfinal stage, you say, but I didn't have my whole team. It doesn't really square. I think that Bombito, the center back, was the most important absence in Canada. That's one that people didn't really talk about, because you end up starting a teenage kid who, you know, bummer for him, doesn't convert his penalty. You know, these things happen. And I think that when the squad isn't as deep as you need it to be, and Canada's still in that process, especially at the back, of who are the better players going to be, you know, you set yourselves up for these situations. So I think Canada's probably the biggest disappointment, but Jamaica's right there as well.
I was going to ask what you thought about this whole Jesse Marsch heel promo wrestling villain dropping pipe bombs and waving his finger at the U.S. kind of persona that he's developed these days.
I kind of think it's fun, man. Look, like I'm in like a weird space of like both being of the generation that enjoys like you know, like Jose Mourinho's, you know, Special One TV was like one of the first things I remember consuming as soccer content, the like marionette of Jose with the outsized personality. But, you know, he became this sort of like God where you're just like, man, it's so funny that he's always trying to stick his finger in the eye of the others. I watch a lot of Latin American soccer, as you know. There's a lot of characters like that in Latin American soccer, and I kind of think that in the U.S., in Canada, kind of in English-speaking North America, I think we could use more of that. So overall, like I sort of enjoy it, but I think like part of the risk you run when you are a wrestling heel is that when the face takes you down, everyone really celebrates it, right? And I think that Jesse's a smart enough guy to know that, and I think he's smart enough to understand what he's doing, you know. And I don't. And maybe if you had him sit down on the record on your show, he would kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge past it. But I think, you know, you inject him with truth serum, he knows exactly what he's doing. And I think he's smart enough to manage it, but he's also knows that he's going to have to take his lumps when the team has a disappointing performance like they did on Sunday.
So if Jesse Marsch is the Iron Sheik and that makes Mauricio Pochettino Hulk Hogan, what have you thought about the U.S. where they have problems up top, but they're still finding ways to push through at the end of the day to get to the semis?
Yeah, but I don't think you can play like the I am a real American for Pochettino, right? Even though he seems to have a little bit of, I don't know, he made a weird joke about wanting to get invited to the White House. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we don't know exactly where his politics are, unlike Hogan. But, you know, on the field, I think the U.S. has been okay. I in a way, like after that game against Costa Rica, Pochettino said like, hey, these are the experiences that we need. And I think he's right. You know, when you talk about the tournament kind of fundamentally changed for me before it started, where for many years in the U.S., I think this tournament had been built up as the men's national team's test run for the World Cup. But the Club World Cup takes 2 players, 3 players from you. Pulisic pulls out. The injuries, however serious they are or not, mean you're playing with alternate fullbacks and alternate forward. So, you know, all of a sudden this changes from a Gold Cup of we must take it seriously and win to now we are in this sort of proto-development mode that the Gold Cup has served for a long time. Who are the players that will impress? Who will win a roster spot? And when that tournament fundamentally changes, the mandate becomes like Pochettino says, we need these experiences, not we need to win convincingly. And they're getting the experience. I think the important thing is to learn from the experiences. If the U.S. rides their luck again in the game against Guatemala and gets through another penalty shootout, perhaps they didn't learn the lessons they needed to learn from the Costa Rica game. But I think time is going to tell about those results. Forward scoring, creativity, the things that I think they're looking worst at right now, aside from whatever it is Max Arfson is doing, sometimes being great and sometimes being. You know, aside from that, I think you're right in saying like, hey, the forward, the attack, the goal scoring has been sort of the most confusing and inconsistent part. Again, like in theory, you say, well, Balogun's the first forward on your team sheet in the World Cup. Ricardo Pepi's your second. Maybe Ajiman, who's starting this tournament, is the third, but I don't know that it's reason for long-term worry. And I think it's sort of a credit to Pochettino and his staff that they are getting this group as far as they're getting them. It's easy to pencil them into the final. They're clearly not there yet. But if they make the final and lose to Mexico, I think you say successful tournament, learning experience. Again, with the kind of caveat, you actually have to learn from your learning experiences, because if you don't apply the lesson.
Oh, he froze up. We'll sit with it. Hang on. John Arnold, get CONCACAF on Substack. And it is mandatory subscriptions to get this. So basically it is getting CONCACAF. Get CONCACAF.substack.com. You can catch up with John that way. And you can find out anything and everything going on in CONCACAF. I do have another couple of questions for John when he comes back. And tell you what, let me do this because he has frozen. So I will remove him temporarily. And my guess is someone tried to call him on whatever device he's on. And so he's going to be dialing back in at any moment. So tell you what, let me do this. I'm going to remove him and hope that the madness comes back in, and hopefully you guys can still see me. I mean, that would be a good thing. So hopefully the transmission on my end is still okay. But there we go. All right, so here we go. I don't know what happened but he froze. He froze, but he's back.
Like I was going to make a Marvel reference and then realized I was over my skis. Whoever the one that he thought is Captain America.
Yeah.
Am I Christian Pulisic? No.
That sounds good to me. Another couple of minutes. By the way, you have to get CONCACAF.substack.com to get all of John's stuff. And as I fully disclosed at the beginning of this, subscribe, have from the beginning, because for all of the diehards and all of the intel that we need, it is a go-to place for me. This one, we were talking managers and stuff. And since you mentioned Costa Rica, I wanted to know what you thought about Miguel Herrera being in charge of Costa Rica wearing that blazer these days.
That's right. He's got a new patch on his blazer. Nah, listen, man, like Piojo's Piojo. And I think that you get all of them. You get the good, where I do think he puts a level of seriousness into the program, and the tactical knowledge is decent. But you also get semantics, and I think you get some limited flexibility. He's a manager that I've been covering for, man, this is crazy, but like more than a decade now, because I was with him in Chile in 2015 when he was taking Mexico to Copa America, did the Gold Cup in 2015, which they won. He gets fired after that tournament because he got in a physical altercation with a commentator at the Philadelphia airport after he won the tournament.
Yep.
So these are the things that you get with Miguel Herrera, right? You get some trophies and some fights. I think that, even in all that time, he's shown more tactical flexibility than he did at the start of his career, which you would expect. People grow, people evolve, people get new ideas. But I still think that Costa Rica would benefit from him being a little more open to modifying some of his ideas. But then, there are some, again, like there are benefits, like where I wasn't so sure about him convincing Keylor Navas to come back. And then Navas was fantastic. Keylor looks like Keylor, and everything kind of works out. So I think Herrera has a really good eye for talent. He's obviously a great motivator. I think players like playing for him, and maybe that's what you needed in Costa Rica, where there'd been some sort of prickly personalities and yeah, like, well, and they got ditched by a really good manager in Alfaro. And so, and maybe you just need someone who's absolutely going to be there, who's going to wave the flag ahead of the tournament. And overall is just a personality. And, I think the biggest thing for Costa Rica right now, it's Herrera kind of distracts from the fact that like this generational change that Costa Rica's needed from so long is actually happening. So you have all these kids who are under 23, maybe under 25 in some cases, who are absolutely the future of the Costa Rica national team, who look like they'll be very good at the 2030 World Cup, 2034 World Cup. And he's kind of, he in a way provides the cover for those guys to make mistakes. And Keylor does too, where it's like he's drawing all the attention. He obviously cleans up the mistakes at the back. But, the uncomfortable truth is that maybe you need to finish that generational change. You're not going to kick Calvo or Keylor off the team, because it's good to have leadership. You need those guys in the locker room. If you're going to get to the World Cup this fall with these qualifiers, those guys are going to play a part. But ideally, you have someone who replaces them on the field who's better. They need those players to come. I think Keylor's replacement is obvious in Patrick Siqueira. The less obvious is the defensive replacement for Calvo. You saw with Jalen Mitchell, the center back, injured in the U.S. game. They had to bring in Gamboa, inexperienced, put Calvo on the fullback's side or on the outside, and all of a sudden he's a big flashing red light that says attack here, and the U.S. does it, and it leads to some results. So look, like Herrera, he's fun, he's weird, he's himself, but I think this is a team on the rise. Is he the right guy for the job? Short term, probably. Long term, no. But it's certainly fun to see him in CONCACAF and have him coaching a national team again.
And just make sure that the batteries in the walkie-talkie are fully charged when you need those. And make sure that you tell Francisco Calvo, look, bruh, if you're going to be at the spot, go left or go right. Don't go down the middle. Because then Matt Freese sits there and just parries it.
It was really remarkable that, Freese after the game credits the goalkeeper coach, Tony Jimenez, for the scouting. But, he said, I was on the plane watching penalties. And, man, it's a good thing that, like, Prince is dying, because I think back in the day he probably would have been reading a newspaper, but he's studying the iPad, watching the thing. And I mean, it was really remarkable how good he was. It's funny because on the TV interview, he's like, penalties are my thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he is good at penalty shootouts. And then you look and it's like, oh, he did a Harvard level research study on penalties. And it showed. I mean, he really seems to know his stuff, and credit to those guys, because I don't think that Costa Rica realized how scouted they were, especially when there was a penalty earlier in the game that he doesn't stop. But then in the shootout, different animal there. And I mean, so many great stories from shootouts in CONCACAF this weekend. Just really, really look like, whether you like him as a way to end the game or not, we all had fun watching them for sure.
No doubt. And I think he guessed right on all of them, and I think touched 5 of the 6 or 5 of the 7. I think he was like right there with most of them. Before you go, obviously we do have to talk about Texas Tech football. 8-5 last year, lost to Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl. And you are, I believe, 60 days away from your season kickoff against Arkansas Pine Bluff, if I remember my research correctly. Do you ever get the chance to go back and watch home games at Jones AT&T, or do you how you stuck watching them on TV because you're the busiest man in CONCACAF show business?
I make it to one a year. I've got a 15-year-old who is decided he's going to Tech, which is awesome. We'll see if that takes. He's still got a couple years to change his mind and go somewhere less academically prestigious, obviously. But yeah, no, I make it back to one a year. This year is the 100th anniversary of the student newspaper at Texas Tech, and we're all getting together for the Okie State game, which is a big one. Wow. So the Jones and the program itself, all of a sudden, I think Texas Tech is so funny because it's like a lot of your viewers in the South will understand, but it's a nothing place, Lubbock, supposedly, but it's so special to those of us who were there. And I think, I see you sipping on an Auburn cup. I think it's kind of similar, but smaller. Where, if you get it, you get it, right? But like when I'm in Mexico or in the CONCACAF region and I'm streaming these horrendous non-conference games, that they're like, what are you doing, man? Like, why do you care about this? And like, this is our thing. This is like what we care about. And so, yeah, I make it back to one home game a year being based here in Dallas. This year it worked out to make that Okie State game. I was worried it was going to be qualifiers, but it kind of fell in the right way. So yeah, especially this fall with the September, October, November windows, probably be watching more soccer than American football, but obviously keep track of the Red Raiders in the college football picture as a whole.
Yeah, the boss is the Auburn alumna, and I am a Florida State grad. So we are a cross-conference marriage, and that is the only way that we think this could have worked in the southeastern United States.
Yeah.
Because
my wife's like the Texas women's, so they're undefeated in football, but they don't have any games.
Right. And so, but hey, you get that 0 to the right of the dash, you're still unbeaten. Yeah, because if we look, our first anniversary was the Rose Bowl game, no lie, with Florida State and Auburn for the national championship. The seats ended up in the Auburn section. I don't know how that happened. And if our marriage can survive that national championship game, I think we're in good shape.
You're set.
I think
set.
One completely and totally promotional question. What has it been like for you to build, getting CONCACAFEINATED and the Substack and get CONCACAF.substack.com? What's it been like for you to build all this stuff? Because it's been really cool to see this progression.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I mean, getting CONCACAF, the newsletter, started in 2020 when I knew I wanted to leave my full-time job, and did. I was a staff writer at Goal. Still have a lot of great friends there. They're doing a good job on the U.S. stuff. They're back. I left when I was getting frustrated with the direction, but now they're doing great. So check those guys out too. But yeah, I thought it would just be somewhere to kind of give me a place to scribble. I thought maybe like history projects about CONCACAF and, just stuff that I get curious about and go down a rabbit hole. But it's been funny to see it kind of become my niche, and like also to get respect from major media outlets and kind of put some of the stories that I think they're realizing that work on the newsletter on their major media outlet as well. So that's been really cool. I think that overall, Look, like there's just more space, right? People are interested in a lot of different things. I actually think college sports is a great example of that, where like the Sickos Committee, right? Like they revel in finding these goofy stories that are the same types of things that I have always liked finding in the CONCACAF region. It just takes people a little longer to buy in. I think that the college football fans are already used to the idea of checking in on Appalachian State or watching a Sun Belt game on a Tuesday night or whatever the case. Where soccer fans, maybe in this country at least, are a little more predisposed to watching a Premier League match and thinking everything is very serious. And you can consume sports like that, and that's fine. If you don't, if you like to get into the weirdness, the conca chaos, then I think there's a lot of people that have done that. So building those channels and being convinced that that lane exists, I think has been the biggest key. Where it's just like, look, I'm going to drink my coffee in the morning and talk about Guatemalan soccer, and people are going to watch it, and they have, and it's been really gratifying. Obviously, we can always use more. Everyone's welcome to join, but it's been good, man, and sort of expanding to the video stuff and doing more. We're certainly not stopping ahead of 2026, and we're going to have more CONCACAF teams in the World Cup than ever before, the Men's World Cup, but also the Women's World Cup. There'll be more teams than there were in Australia and New Zealand. So, keep watching, keep looking. It legitimately is just a fun way to consume sports. And I think especially now for American soccer fans in the US, man, like in a lot of ways, the US, I keep telling my buddies, like the US has grown into a real soccer country. And I know that because Tim Howard and Landon Donovan are grumpy on a podcast, and then it gets aggregated and people, like then you're just in the cycle of somebody sees an article and they respond to it. And then that's a headline. Dempsey says that Donovan is X. And then, but Jermaine Jones says that, Dempsey says that, John, and like that happens in every soccer country. Is it good? I don't think so. And if you want to get off that treadmill a little bit, dip into getting CONCACAF, because we'll touch on some of that stuff, but we're also touching on all sorts of other stuff that you probably didn't know you were interested in, but hopefully it captures your attention.
And that's why we love having you here to talk about it. And that's why we subscribe, and that's why we follow. Get CONCACAF.substack.com, at Arnold, John on the 280-character app, all the socials. Be well, my friend. Be safe. You now have, with that email that I sent you this morning, you now have the garage door opener. You now know where the key is under the mat. So if you're ever bored and there's like the hour of chaos on a Friday and you want to come in and talk about FC Dallas, like 10:30 to 11:05 Eastern time, it literally can turn into the hour of chaos, and people just come in and sit there and go, hey, latest update, or hey, you suck, anything like that to wrap up a week. You've got the garage door opener, my friend. It's carte blanche. Great to see you. Do not be a stranger. We'll catch up soon.
I'll be here, man. I always appreciate it, John. Thanks to you. Thanks to the audience. We'll talk soon, man.
All right, be good. John Arnold from Anything and Everything. Get CONCACAF.substack.com, at Arnold, John on the Twitters. Subscribe to his stuff, because it's all those great stories. You follow him on social media. You get the Get CONCACAF. You get the CONCACAFination. All the things. All of that in one place. I cannot wave my hands in the air any more frequently or fervently to be up to date on everything CONCACAF. You get to catch up with John, and especially college football season, where you get to find out everything that's going on involving Texas Tech football and FC Dallas and Major League Soccer and all the things. Look, like literally St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Guatemala, Gold Cup, all the stuff in between. And that's where you go and you catch up with John. John's based in Big D, and it's always fun to read his stuff and go down the rabbit holes that he, digs out for you on a daily basis. So yes, get the CONCACAFination and be a supporter of everything that he does, because, it's the way. We've got to be educated, and that's why we have all of our sources and our friends that are part of the network, that we can go in a bunch of different ways and a bunch of different places and get smart, and don't even need Maxwell or Agent 99 to do it. That's why we bring in folks like John Arnold. Tomorrow on the show, before we let you know what else is going on and catch up with everything else going on overseas with transfers and news and notes and everything. Tomorrow, I believe Tyler's back. Tyler's back from Portugal. We'll find out about his trip to Portugal. We'll find out about what's going on in his mind when it comes to Atlanta United, getting ready for DC United on the weekend. If Dylan Butler isn't busy doing high school stuff, he can join us at 10 o'clock. Kaylor Hodges from the USL show is going to join us at 10:30, and that will be your lineup for Wednesday. Thursday, the Power Hour in the second half. In the second half of the show, it's Nino and Nico at 10 and 10:30. We are efforting a guest who can continue to discuss everything Club World Cup with us, and hopefully that individual can join us in hour number 1 and get you ready, because remember, no show Friday because of July 4th. We will be out supporting our friends who are doing the 10K and going south from Lenox toward Piedmont Park, and we will be partying appropriately, or at least watching others party appropriately, and we will be the designated driver very, very early in the morning for mimosas and carbs. So watching and cheering and watching. So that's what we're doing in addition to the MD-1s on July 4th. Jason's going to be heading to D.C. Friday afternoon to get ready for everything going on the weekend at Audi Field with DC United. I think it's going to be Garrett Chapman and Maddie for the DC United match on Saturday. Noon kick at Mercedes-Benz. So here's Maddie's day. Maddie will be at Mercedes-Benz bright and before early with me. We will do all the things. We'll be there for the match. We'll be out by 4. She goes directly to Colony Square to hang out with the Garrett Chapman to do the Five Stripes countdown and the full-time report, wrapping itself around the matchup in D.C. on July 5th. And then Jason comes back, and then everything comes back to what's been going on with anything and everything involving. Do we have? Oh, that's right. I've got to. Oh, and we are also waiting for the reorganization of the twos match with Messi and Friends 2, as that got washed out because of travel problems that happen when Hartsfield, the busiest airport on the planet, gets storms. It happens. All right. So, yeah, it looks like it's pretty normal. And then the MD-1s on Friday, Club World Cup at noon in the quarters. And then you end up with FC Cincinnati 2 and Atlanta United 2. I believe that one is back in Kennesaw on the 9th. So the next matchup is 8 days from now in Kennesaw. And there we go. Morning, Alex. Morning, Dawn Star. Morning, Abby. And let's see. Let me see if I missed any conversation pieces with anything and anyone and everyone. That's what I'm looking for here. So hang on just a second. So let's do the look-see of everything going on overseas and find out what is the latest. No surprise, but Wrexham have signed Welsh keeper Danny Ward on a free, leaving Leicester in the summer, signed a contract for 2 years, returns to Wrexham after having been at the club from 2007 to 2012. Liverpool still have yet to receive a formal bid for Darwin Nunez. Napoli still viewing Nunez as their top striker target. Liverpool's valuation remains around €70 million. Chelsea's women's club defender Ashley Lawrence has joined Lyon. She's made 60 appearances, winning 4 trophies. Also set to sign Lyon fullback Ellie Carpenter. Arsenal confirmed Kepa has joined from Chelsea for £5 million. He'll wear the 13. And there's the photo of him smiling at the camera and not signing a contract that is underneath the pen that is elevated in the air. Let's see. Gabriel Martinelli, one option for Al Nassr if they fail to land Luis Diaz. Arsenal are not actively looking to sell, have started exploratory extension talks. However, Al Nassr believe a big offer could change their mind. Nassr expect to see clarity from Diaz first as to whether he's open to Saudi before advancing on other targets. More on Eze. The Arsenal holding what is referred to as positive talks over the weekend. Palace are aware of the interest, no formal approach yet. Arsenal could add wingers and an attacking mid. Spurs have backed off of Eze. Al-Ettifaq will take their time before deciding whether to replace Damari Gray. Gray has signed with Birmingham City. That had been rumored. It is now official. Khalid El Ghanem, who's on loan at Al Hilal, came off the bench in the win against Manchester City, has a $16 million clause, having been signed for around $3 million in 24. Al Hilal considering making the move permanent. Al Aqli also interested. Ettifaq expect an exit and may wait for El Ghanem to depart before deciding on a new winger. Joao Pedro has passed his Chelsea medical ahead of his £60 million move from Brighton, registered in the Club World Cup squad. So keep an eye on that. Spurs backing off of Eze. Arsenal back in on Eze, and that has taken up a lot of space. Damari Gray's move to Birmingham now complete. Free transfer back to his boyhood club. Al Ettifaq waiting for Saudi Pro League approval to formalize paperwork ahead of an announcement. Inzaghi, after last night's match, in the win over Manchester City, the key to this result are the players, the heart they put on the pitch. Tonight we had to do something extraordinary. We knew how good Manchester City are. We knew we had to climb Mount Everest without oxygen, and we were great. Pep Guardiola is the best coach in the world, but tonight we did our best and deserved the result, end quote. And all fans were definitely partying in the Citrus Bowl after the win against Manchester City. So very, very cool to see what has been going on there. Okay, so once again, we mentioned TSN saying that Bernardeschi is leaving Toronto FC. Insigne expected to follow. And they mention the contract. They have a couple of sentences from Jason Hernandez that we talked about this morning. Bernardeschi is making just under $6.3 million this year, ranking 6th in MLS. Insigne is making 15.4, second only to Lionel Messi's 20.5. Bernardeschi's contract ran through 26, option years through 28. Insigne's deal runs through June of 26 with an option for the remainder of the year, and that'll open up two DP spots. Bernardeschi has not played since May 24th when he picked up a fifth yellow that got him the one-game suspension. Missed the last 3 matches with what Robin Fraser described as a lingering injury. So when you have those players having disagreements with Bob Bradley, John Herdman, and an interim, you never know, but maybe you do. Designated players in Major League Soccer aged at least 24 only carry a salary budget charge of $743,750, no matter how much they are paid. So that is the official news as of the moment out of Canada. But now, what do you know? Look at that. As of 11 o'clock this morning, we filibustered long enough because it is now official. It is now officially official with Insigne now joining Bernardeschi. Insigne and Toronto FC have agreed on a mutual contract termination. So that is both of them. Burned them both in one day in like 3.5 hours. Effective immediately. Insigne will no longer occupy a designated player slot. Previous wages will not count against the club's salary budget. TFC has utilized one of the club's 2 buyouts of a guaranteed contract on Insigne. Two sentences from Jason Hernandez, basically a mini paragraph. Insigne joined as a DP in 2022, 76 matches in all comps, 19 plus 18. So that is it. So Insigne and Bernardeschi officially both out. Johan, 68. Let me find your question. Let me see. How early was it? And then we can answer. Hang on. When did you send it, Johan? And I can find out. No, that's not the message that I wanted. Morning Lokeville, by the way. All right. So I'm going back to the absolute beginning. So, Johan, Messi or Ronaldo? Oh, yeah, we did. Johan, we did answer that. When you came in this morning, I think given the choice of individual Team Messi or Team Ronaldo, we have folks that are a part of our Twitch pitch, and that's the conversation that you're a part of over on the margins, where it might be more against Messi than it is pro Ronaldo, but given the choice of the two, regardless of where they currently reside playing their football, a lot of us are Team Messi here. So, but Johan, thank you for not being a stranger, for ducking out and coming back in. So, Morning Dawn Star, by the way. So Insigne, Bernardeschi, both out, official, both of them out the door in like 3.5 hours in Toronto. So that happened there. Once again, it was great to catch up with our friends at the Genuine Cup, genuinecup.org, and you can find out a lot more about what's going on with them. And thanks to Ana Torres and their group for dropping by and letting us know everything going on involving the tournament that is going to be over at Rice University at the end of the month. And so July 29, 30 days has September, April 30, 29, 30, 31, August 1st. And so genuinecup.org, thanks to Ana Torres and everybody for hopping in and letting us know about everything there involving that conversation this morning. Genuinecup.org. So very, very cool stuff that's going to be going on at the bottom of the month, the end of the month in Houston, Texas. And so we'll catch up with them as things continue to proceed there with anything and everything going on involving that game. So let me see if there's anything else that we have missed. And if there is anyone else that is attached, Portsmouth want to sign Griffin Yao from Westerlo. According to Tommy Scoops, no official bid yet, but would expect one, expecting to leave Westerlo in the summer. DC United have a 35% sell-on clause and can convert any potential windfall into GAM. Toronto, Tommy Scoops making the official notification. Toronto utilizing both of the buyouts for whatever money's left over for both Insigne and Bernardeschi, and that's how they can open up the 2 DP spots. They're burning both of those. Combined salary, more than the total wage bill of all but 7 MLS teams this year. And now we'll see who Toronto chases after now. And we'll see what's going on. We mentioned Bayer Leverkusen yesterday finalizing a deal for Malik Tillman from PSV. Deals in the region of $40 million, courtesy of our friend Fabrizio Romano. Fidel Barajas returns to Chivas at the conclusion of his loan to DC United, leaving Chivas this summer again. Joined in a $4 million transfer from RSL last year. Argentinos juniors have completed a signing of left back Claudio Bravo from the Portland Timbers. Fee around $900,000 opens up cap space for Portland as they look for potential additions. Cesar Luis Merlo first to report that. Austin FC completed a deal yesterday to sign midfielder Nicky Balocco, joining on a free contract through 28, option for 29, most recently with Luzern in Switzerland, where he was a regular starter. Former Swiss youth international. Yikes. Crew in transfer negotiations to sign Hugo Picard from Guignon. And Picard would join via the U22. Apparently, he was in attendance for Crew's win over Philly as he nears a move. And so, yes, he would be a U22 signing. So that is, I think, all the news and things. I think that's all the news. All right. So thanks to everybody for dropping in this morning. And thanks to all of you guys for all the comments that you always give us in the Twitch pitch. Remember, busy night tonight, Mercedes-Benz, 9 o'clock kick, Dortmund and Monterrey. I'm expecting a packed. I'm expecting packed lower bowl 43, so I'm maybe 50, something like that. I'm thinking if we're looking at the master of tickets and availabilities now that has kind of started up in the upper deck, so we'll see what happens there. So expecting 45 to 50 off the top of my head. We'll see what it looks like tonight at 9 o'clock. Once again, remember your early kick in the FIFA World Cup, 3 o'clock, South Florida, leave now. Real Madrid favored against Juve, and Dortmund is favored against Monterrey. So thanks to John Arnold. Once again, get concacaf.substack.com at Arnold, John on the 280-character app. All of his social medias. Follow him and everything that goes on with John. Genuinecup.org. You learned about that. That was really cool to find out more about that. That's happening at the end of the month. As we get closer, we'll catch up with Marty Jellamy and find out about the Unified team and their season to date and everything that's going on there. And all of the news that happened this morning went over Club World Cup, got you ready for tonight. Heard from Pep Guardiola this morning about the loss to Al Hilal 4-3, which is absolutely crazy. And the second half was absolutely crazy, plus the additional 30 that meant that the first 90 didn't settle anything. Manchester City out. Sorry, that screaming you heard was Drew Dickinson. Back at it again tomorrow. Hopefully Tyler, hopefully Dylan, and Kaylor Hodges at 10:30. to get you through your Wednesday, to break down everything that's going on in the USL at the USL show, and their scarf is right there. Thanks again, once again, for all of you guys for being a part of everything. Mucho plata, y'all. Play it safe. Enjoy the games today. Pace yourselves. It's going to be a long one. Mucho plata, y'all. Since it's the end of the show, that means we get to do this. See you in a little less than 22.